What did you think when you saw those thousands of people wandering past your office in Whitehall? What went through your mind?
Well, look, of course, we live in a free country and people have every right to protest and if they want to. But I would say that you can't have decent public services. You can't have decently funded schools and hospitals and pay your teachers well and pay your nurses well and increase the number of teachers and nurses unless you have fixed the economy. Because these services are paid for by taxes on businesses, taxes on working people in the public and private sector. And if your economy is in a mess and your public finances are in a mess, then your public services suffer. Well, it's because we're fixing the economy that you can, for example, increase spending on healthcare in the way that we are.
Is the economy still in a mess? Are the public services still in a mess?
Well, I would say that the economy is in a much better position than it was 4 years ago.
So isn't it time to release the pay restraint?
Well, the unfortunate thing, Iain, is that we were in such a hole as a country 4 years ago that although we have reduced the deficit by a half, it is still too high. The deficit being how much we have to borrow every year. And although we have created 1.7 million jobs, there are still too many people who are unemployed. And although we're seeking to export more, and I was doing that this week in India, we're still not exporting enough as a country. So, we are not in a position today where you can say the British economy is absolutely, fine and there are no issues and no problems. There's more to be done. While you're borrowing this much and while you've got this many people unemployed, we have to work tirelessly to get the economy even stronger.
The way you're talking, this could go on for many years. Can you identify a point in the future where you think that this 1% limit on public sector pay can actually be lifted? Are we talking about 2017, 2020, 2025? What?
Well, I'm not going to set out public sector pay policy for years to come.
But what I would say
what I would say this is that we've got another couple of difficult years to try and bring public expenditure down and get it back into balance. We've set out our pay policy for the future that covers a part of that period. But we can reach a point where actually we are then as a country raising as much as we are spending, which every family would know is a better place to be in than the country is at the moment. And then, of course, you don't have to make quite as many difficult decisions. The only thing I would say is the biggest mistake would be at that point to completely think, okay, let's let it all go to seed again. Let's let us start borrowing too much, which is why, having reached the point when you got your public finances, you've got to keep them in order.
I understand the logic of that, but do you not think that you might make the mistake that maybe Margaret Thatcher made, where you had the public sector virtually all against her and the private sector for her? You're creating a needless divide in society. How can you get the public sector to vote for you in 2015 if they think that these policies are going to continue for the next 5 years?
Well, look, I don't seek that division at all. I think people in our hospitals and schools and in our police forces, they are doing an incredible job, a very hard job, demanding job, and we all depend on them. And so I'm not seeking that division at all. I mean, I would say, if you look at that strike yesterday, for all the talk of the Labour Party and the trade unions about how many people were going to come out and strike, actually it was a bit of a damp squib. And so I think a lot of people in the public sector understand that if the country is close to bankruptcy, as we were 4 years ago, the first people who suffer are the people who are paid for by the state. And that is why actually I think there's a lot of sympathy in the public sector for difficult decisions to fix the economy, because they can see the alternative is very much worse.